Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So, all right, let's talk about something that Indiana Fever fans are probably going to argue about all damn day. Because after watching Caitlin Clark play alongside Makayla Timpson, I have to ask a brutally uncomfortable question. Has Makayla Timpson become a better fit next to Caitlin Clark than Aliyah Boston? Yeah, I said it. And before the Aliyah Boston fans start losing their minds, let's make one thing crystal clear. Nobody is saying Aliyah Boston suddenly became a bad basketball player. She is still more physically gifted. She's stronger, more experienced, and more talented in a pure individual sense. But basketball isn't played on a spreadsheet. Chemistry matters, fit matters, roles matter. And right now, Makayla Timpson appears to understand her role next to Caitlin Clark a hell of a lot better. Just look at what happens when Timpson is on the floor. The pick and roll looks natural, she sets actual screens, she rolls hard, she runs the floor. When she grabs a rebound, she's looking to outlet the ball instead of trying to turn herself into the damn point guard. And most importantly, she gets the ball into Caitlin Clark's hands. That sounds ridiculously simple, right? But sometimes the simplest thing is exactly what the Fever need, because Caitlin Clark is one of the best playmakers in basketball. So why the hell are we constantly watching situations where the center is bringing the ball up the court while Caitlin Clark is pushed away from the action? That makes absolutely no sense. And this is where Makayla Timpson has been so refreshing. When Caitlin Clark gives Timpson the ball and immediately cuts or comes back for a handoff, Timpson understands what the hell is happening. She gives it right back. She keeps the action moving. There isn't this weird hesitation. There isn't an attempt to become the offensive hub. There isn't a center standing at the three-point line clogging the damn driving lanes. The offense just flows. Now compare that with what we've seen from Aliyah Boston. Boston has increasingly looked comfortable trying to initiate offense, facilitate from unusual spots, and operate as a hub. And that's not necessarily bad basketball by itself. But here's the problem. Indiana already has Caitlin Clark. You don't need your center pretending to be a point guard when you've already got one of the most dangerous offensive creators in the league standing next to you. And that's why this conversation has become so interesting. Maybe the issue isn't talent, maybe the issue is fit. Because Makayla Timpson doesn't appear to be fighting Caitlin Clark for control of the offense. She isn't trying to reinvent her role every possession. She's doing the dirty work. Screens, rebounds, rolls, cuts, finishes, outlet passes. Simple basketball. And sometimes, simple basketball is exactly what makes a superstar point guard even more dangerous. Look at the difference in pace. The offense can get moving much faster when Caitlin Clark gets the ball early instead of watching another player dribble the damn ball up the floor. And let's be honest, that's what makes this entire situation so frustrating. Aliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark once had some beautiful chemistry. We saw it. The connection was obvious, the two-man game was dangerous, the passes were instinctive. Caitlin would find Boston cutting toward the basket, Boston would finish, and the Fever suddenly had something they could build around. But somewhere along the way, that chemistry started looking different. And if you're a Fever fan, you have every right to ask why. Did the offensive philosophy change? Did Stephanie White's system change Boston's responsibilities? Did Boston's role evolve into something that simply doesn't maximize Caitlin Clark? Because whatever the reason, the result is what matters. And right now, Timpson looks damn comfortable playing with Caitlin. That doesn't mean Timpson is suddenly better than Boston overall. Let's kill that argument right now. If we're talking about raw talent, athletic ability, physical strength, and individual skill, Aliyah Boston still has the advantage. But if we're talking about fit next to Caitlin Clark, that's a completely different conversation. And that's where things get controversial. Because a lot of fans are looking at this and saying, wait a minute, why does the offense look cleaner with Timpson? That's a legitimate question, and it's not an insult to Aliyah Boston. It's an indictment of how the roles are being used. There's another issue we have to talk about too, finishing. Timpson has been making the easy finishes count. She's getting to the rim, catching the ball in rhythm, and converting opportunities. Meanwhile, Boston has had stretches where even routine finishes have looked much more difficult than they should. And that's where the criticism gets ugly, because if your center is missing shots around the basket while simultaneously taking the ball out of Caitlin Clark's hands, you're creating a double problem. You're reducing your superstar's involvement and failing to maximize your own scoring opportunities. That's a damn bad combination. Now, does this mean Aliyah Boston should permanently sit on the bench? I'm not going that far. Not yet. But if Boston wants to remain the perfect front court partner for Caitlin Clark, something has to change. Get back to screening, get back to rolling, get back to attacking the rim, get back to making those quick decisions, and most importantly, stop trying to turn every possession into a damn experiment. Let Caitlin Clark be Caitlin Clark, because when Caitlin has the ball in her hands and a big who knows how to screen and roll beside her, the Fever suddenly become much harder to defend. That's the evidence we need to watch, and that's why Makayla Timpson deserves serious credit. She isn't trying to be the star, she's trying to make the star better, and right now, that might be exactly what Indiana needs. So shout out to ESP Ben for the film that helps illustrate this conversation, because once you actually slow the game down and watch the possessions, you start seeing the difference. The question isn't whether Aliyah Boston is talented, she obviously is. The real question is whether she's currently playing in a way that maximizes Caitlin Clark. And if the answer is no, then Stephanie White has a damn coaching decision to make, because Indiana cannot afford to waste Caitlin Clark's prime opportunities by forcing an offensive system that doesn't fit its biggest superstar. Maybe Boston gets back to the player who built that chemistry with Caitlin. Maybe Timpson continues developing and becomes a legitimate long-term front court partner. Either way, the Fever have a very interesting problem on their hands. And honestly, it's a good problem to have, if Stephanie White has the guts to make the right decision.
Aliyah Boston won't pass the ball to Caitlin Clark. This is 3 straight games. Caitlin Clark's telling the refs, they've been fouling me all game. They're going to foul. But Aliyah Boston, watch this. How do you miss this pass unless you're trying not to pass it to her? So she has the refs against her, the opposing players, now her own teammates. Can you imagine her numbers? It used to be Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston. Maybe Aliyah Boston's jealous because it's Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark now getting the shine. Maybe being the third forgotten option, it's gone to her head because 5 times this game, she's not handing the ball off anymore to Caitlin Clark. But Caitlin Clark is always quick to give everybody the ball, including Aliyah Boston. If it wasn't for Caitlin Clark, Aliyah Boston wouldn't be the player she is, because nobody in the history of the league passes the ball like Caitlin Clark, and the stats prove it. She has the highest assists per game in league history, and it ain't even close.
Now let's take a look at the Makayla Timpson clip. Shout out to KTV for the footage. Let's break this down and see exactly what's happening here. The film don't lie. The tape damn sure doesn't lie.
Clark here, dribbling. She's going to be triple team.
Here, Caitlin Clark on the drive.
Triple team. Makayla Timpson finds the open space, makes the short lay-in. Okay? Even when you go here. And I'm going to show you a few clips right here.
That pick and roll play.
Okay, right here. Just the first play. You're going to see. Boom. Makayla Timpson sets a screen for Caitlin Clark. They put 2 on the ball. Makayla Timpson rolls right here in the empty space, right here in the pocket. She catches, finishes over 2 people at the rim. Okay? Makayla Timpson set a real screen. She touched her on the screen. Aliyah Boston just goes backwards and doesn't even touch the guard on the screen. Makayla Timpson sets a real screen. That allows Caitlin Clark to snake the screen, get to the opposite side of where the pick came, and Makayla Timpson setting a real screen. Caitlin Clark is able to get in the lane. This is the difference. Aliyah Boston doesn't do any of this anymore. She don't screen. She don't pass to her. She don't make layups. She wants to play point guard. Makayla Timpson is better for Caitlin Clark than Aliyah Boston right now, period. Look at this. Caitlin Clark bringing it up, throwing it up. Makayla Timpson running the floor. Why is Caitlin Clark able to get these throw-aheads to the bigs? Y'all remember Caitlin Clark used to get these throw-ahead layup passes to Aliyah Boston? It never happens now. You know why? Because Aliyah Boston is busy trying to dribble the ball up the court herself. If Makayla Timpson was trying to dribble the ball up, she wouldn't have been all the way up here for the throw ahead, because she's running the floor. Aliyah Boston don't want to do that no more. She wants to dribble it up herself. And I'm just showing y'all the chemistry difference. Okay? Caitlin Clark gets the ball. She's pushing it up the floor. Makayla Timpson running the floor. Makayla Timpson is a better player for Caitlin Clark right now. Look, Makayla Timpson setting a real pick, setting a real screen, not just falling backwards and getting out of the defender's way. That gives Caitlin Clark a wide open three. The proof is in the pudding, man. The film don't lie. The tape don't lie. Coaches always say the bird in the sky don't lie, man. The film don't lie. Caitlin Clark getting the screen. This is just what happens when you give her people competent players that set screens.
Coaches can talk all they want, but once you turn on that footage, the truth is right there staring you in the face. Look at Caitlin Clark getting that screen. This is what happens when you give her competent players who actually know how to set a damn screen and play their role. Makayla Timpson is showing why her fit with Caitlin Clark deserves serious attention. She screens, rolls, runs the floor, and keeps the offense moving instead of forcing everything through herself. Is she more talented than Aliyah Boston? No, but fit matters, and right now, Timpson looks damn comfortable next to Caitlin. And Makayla Timpson, I'm saying it right here, and I don't give a damn who disagrees. As long as she continues playing the right way alongside Caitlin Clark, I'm rocking with Makayla Timpson over Aliyah Boston right now. That's where I stand. I'm not saying Aliyah Boston isn't talented, because she absolutely is. I'm saying the damn fit looks better with Timpson. The chemistry, the screens, the movement, the way she gets Caitlin Clark involved, it just makes sense. But what do you say? Get down in the comments and let me know.